Here's a fascinating historical story about the Great Emu War, one of the strangest conflicts in history. The Great Emu War 1932. After World War I, Australian veterans were given land to farm in Western Australia. However, in 1932, tens of thousands of emus, large, flightless birds, began invading these farms, eating crops and causing massive damage. The farmers, desperate to protect their livelihoods, appealed to the government for help. The government responded by sending a small military force armed with Toulouse machine guns and 10,000 rounds of ammunition. The soldiers expected an easy victory. After all, they were facing birds. However, the emus were surprisingly well organized. They would scatter and run in different directions when fired upon, making them difficult targets. Their speed and agility allowed them to avoid most of the gunfire. Even when the soldiers managed to hit some, the emus' sheer numbers overwhelmed them. At one point, a machine gun was mounted on a truck to chase the birds, but the terrain was too rough, and the gunner couldn't aim properly while moving. The emus outmaneuvered the soldiers at every turn. After a few weeks of frustrating and largely unsuccessful fighting, the government withdrew the troops. The final score. The Australian military had used up thousands of rounds of ammunition and killed around 1,000 emus, but the emus had won. The failure was so embarrassing that the government downplayed the incident, and farmers were left to handle the emu problem themselves. Eventually, a bounty system was introduced, which proved more effective than machine guns. The Great Emu War remains one of history's most bizarre military encounters, where the underdogs were literally giant birds. Want to hear another strange historical tale?